Good evening, and welcome to the Florida Watercolor Society's 50th anniversary celebration. When I found out that I was going to be the president for the 50th anniversary of the Florida Watercolor Society, I got chills. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to reach out to all of the past presidents of the society and ask them what their year was like. What happened during their year? What were the problems? What were the successes and the feelings? So tonight you're going to hear what the past presidents have gone through, lived through, and how they survived, and find out how they did it. What problems they had, what successes they had, who helped them out, and how they made it through, and how the Florida Watercolor Society has survived over 50 years. So tonight, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Happy 50th anniversary, Florida Watercolor Society.
Hello, I'm Mary Alice Brockman, and I was president of Florida Watercolor for 2 terms, but I want to introduce you to a few, at least one before and one after me. James Kaitenig was president the year before me in 1988 through 1989, and he was the Florida Watercolor Conference was at Rollins College in Winter Park. The exhibition was held at the Cornell Fine Arts Museum. Stephen Doherty became very interested in Florida watercolor, and he was the editor of American Artist magazine. And he would do a short tidbit in the magazine or assigned one of his editors. In 1990, the conference and convention was held in Fort Myers. Betty Lynch was our workshop instructor. And at the seminar, we had Stephen Doherty and Ed Betts and Betty Lynch on a panel. And they would talk on art and also open it to the audience for questions. Still no trade show. So then after that, the next year, we moved to St. Petersburg for the annual conference and workshop. Well, my husband was a radiologist, and we'd travel to Chicago every year for the North American Radiological Society, and they would have a massive trade show. Well, I loved the trade shows and decided I would go in and just study all the trade shows, talk to the organizers of it, and find out all about it. And I thought, this is what Florida Watercolor needs. Instead, we will have all these art supply companies. And my husband, who really supported me in the arts, said, you tell them that you can put it on and I will pay for it if it costs Florida Watercolor 1 cent. And so they agreed to let me do it. They all came, Arches, Golden, M. Graham, you name them, all the ones that you see in the awards now and you see in the catalogs. We had the trade show at the St. Pete Hilton downtown, and it was a huge success. So many people came that we had to limit the number going into the trade show. Exhibition was held at the St. Pete Museum of Fine Arts.
Congratulations on the 50th year for the Florida Watercolor Society. Anniversary, it's a big one. My name is Sandra D Lloyd. I was president of the Florida Watercolor Society in 1993 and 94. My year was a little unusual to start in that I was elected president, never having served as vice president or any previous office in Florida Watercolor Society. We were facing a major financial deficit and potential rift in the board over our future. I had no previous ties to either issue, so I was talked into running. My challenge that year was to solve both issues, with much help I did. Another mildly difficult thing I experienced while in office was that my painting was not juried into the show. Sort of embarrassing when you're in front of a lot of people. The board decided to help me save face by placing my art on an easel at the entrance of the gallery. But it was also decided that in the future, the president would not enter a painting in the show to save the juror the feeling of undue pressure to accept it, and the president the embarrassment of not getting in during his or her year. I'm not sure if that's still the policy, but if so, it started in my year. I would not have succeeded in my job that year without the support and guidance of past President Marilyn Rowland, deceased, who was my mentor and friend, and who was the one to insist that I run for office. Also, a major support for me was my artist daughter, Rita Lloyd, who helped in so many ways. She helped design our catalog cover that year and assisted me in getting our newsletter printed and set up for mailing by a local high school, which was a real money saver. We didn't have everything computerized back then. Wish you all the very best of luck. Bye-bye.
Oh, they're blessed to join, and if it's still operating as well as it was when I was last there, it just can't get any better. It's a great organization, and the most important thing, I think, is it brings together your spirit, and that's what you need to make it work. So I wish everybody well, and hang on to the paintbrush.
Okay, Florida Watercolors Society, 1999. Hi, I'm Joan Swetland, and I was the president. We had our exhibition at the Dunedin Fine Arts Center in Dunedin, but we stayed in Tampa at the Doubletree Hotel, and we hired 3 buses to take people to the exhibition, and it really was beautiful. Ted Mention is the artist that judged the show, and about 750 slides were submitted, and about 101 hung in the show. And it was a beautiful reception there that they had put on for us. We had a large trade show. The room was so large that our demonstrations were held in the same room, which made the dealers happy because the people were always there in the room and they were surrounded with buyers. We had a nice dinner at the Doubletree, and Stephen Doherty was our speaker. And we had a great time. I hope you were there and have good memories of it. Okay.
Hi, my name is Katherine Davis, and I'd like to welcome you to my studio here in Orlando. I was president of FWS in 2003 here in Orlando, and then in 2004 I was co-president with Jerry Summers in Tallahassee, and the exhibition was in Quincy. What I remember most about the 2 years that I was president was how amazing my board was and my committee members, and what a lucky person I was to get to be around my 2 jurors, Mark Mahaffey and Dean Mitchell. In 2003, the exhibition was at the Terrace Gallery in downtown Orlando, and the convention was at the Radisson Hotel. And I have to give a huge shout out to Central Florida Watercolor Society, especially Jane Brinkerhoff. Jane was my slide chairman, and she did an amazing job. And all the members of Central Florida Watercolor Society, they truly were the workhorse that year. They just did an amazing job, and without them, I could have never accomplished what I did. They made it look easy, and for that I'm truly thankful. So thank you, Central Florida Watercolor Society. Y'all are amazing. The board members that were so special to me are Ann Drury and Taylor Eichen. They had been on the board for several years prior to me getting on there, and they just took me under their wings and walked me through the jobs that I had to accomplish. Basically, they were my FWS mothers, and for that I'm so grateful. And they have ended up being two sweet, dear friends that I love dearly. And then the friendships you make, that's just, that's priceless. And I got to know Debbie Rankin and Sue Allen and Donna Morrison, and I've kept up with each of them, and they're just truly sweet, dear friends who mean the world to me. The juror in 2003 was Martin Mahaffey, and in 2004, Dean Mitchell was our juror. And I have to say thank you to Susanna Winton. She is a dear friend of Dean Mitchell's, and because of her friendship, we were able to get Dean as our juror. So thank you, Susanna. FWS thanks you. Being in the company of those two watercolor rock stars was just simply amazing. Both of them were so generous with their time and their talent and their knowledge. And I can remember when they both came to select the awards, I was standing off to the side and just in awe of what they were getting ready to do. And I just wanted to be inside their brains and see what they were thinking. And the next best thing is after they had selected the awards, both of them, Dean and Mark, invited the committee to come in, and they explained what they did, how they selected, and why they selected each painting as an award winner. So for that, I'm just, what an amazing art experience that was, and it's something I'll always treasure and remember all my life. So thank you for letting me be president of FWS those 2 amazing years, and making friendships that will last a lifetime. And hopefully I'll get to see everybody in 2021. So take care. Thank you.
Tonight we celebrate 50 years of Florida Watercolor Society and all its many accomplishments. I'm Sue Downs Allen. I was president in 2005, which seems like a very long time ago. It's a very nice invitation, though, to be invited to talk to you about that year. Planning the 2005 convention started in advance in 2001 when Ann Drury and Taylor Eichen introduced me to Lynn Whitelaw, the director of the brand new Lipa Rantner Museum, which is on the campus of the Tarpon Springs campus of St. Pete College. It's a beautiful facility now, but when I met Lynn that day, we were in a construction zone, which there was concrete and steel all over, lots of dust. But Lynn was quick to tell us about his dreams, his vision of a beautiful, spacious building, and we knew it would be a perfect space for our exhibit. Most important, they were very excited about Florida Watercolor coming there, and it turned out to be a very popular exhibit with that community, especially with the students who had an opportunity to see watercolor in so many forms, the way our exhibits always seem to be very diverse. Can you believe all the different ways people can work with watercolor? Innisbrook Resort is adjacent to the campus. They share a boundary, and it seemed the obvious choice to go to Innisbrook Resort for our convention. They had several convention buildings and facilities, but the main one would have worked really well for us. And they also had lots of rooms and villas that people could rent. They were willing to work with us, so it seemed like a perfect match, and it was a beautiful place. However, it was spread out over a broad area because it is a rather large resort. So we learned the lesson that our members like to be in one place, under one roof, so that they can visit and see each other. Some of us, that's the only time, once a year we see each other, and we look forward to it especially I do. That's the best part about convention, isn't it? Our judge that year and our instructor was George James. Fantastic guy, just doing wonderful work in watercolor on Yupo paper. And he came out twice, once to judge the show and then again for our convention. And we enjoyed all our time with him. I was sorry to hear that George passed away several years ago. He left behind beautiful work, a lot of respect from a lot of different people. He was a very busy member of the National Watercolor Society. He was also a Dolphin Fellow of American Watercolor Society. And we were happy to have him, especially that year, because Yupo was a fairly new surface, and watercolors were very interested in learning to use it better. George had all kinds of input about that. He had lots of tricks, I'd say. All of us enjoy that part. Besides George, I also had Arlita Peck as our second instructor. She is a master of whites, and we all know how hard that is to work with in watercolor. She has a book called Pure Color Glazing in Watercolor, which would show her work. Look her up. She was a perfect balance with George's abstract figure type paintings. And everyone really enjoyed her workshop too. I was so happy that both the workshops were full and everyone seemed pleased. Oh, I want to go back to George. We did something that year for the very first time. I think it was the first time we had a Thursday evening demo. And George James agreed to do that in a large room in Innisbrook Resort. The place was full and everybody really enjoyed it. I think anyone that had tried to work on Yupo in the past was astounded at how well he handled it. And the people in his workshops felt that way after they worked with him for a while. I also was happy to have Jean Dobie at our dinner. She was the keynote speaker. And she was very interesting because Jean, all of us know about her book, Making Colors Sing, and that she's a wonderful painter. She lives part of the year in Florida, so she was practically a member of Florida Watercolor, but I had only met her once before. But she talked about her career and her life, moving around with her husband, who was a race car driver. And it was a whole different look at art. We don't often get somebody to tell us about how their career went, and I enjoyed that very much. It's always something new with these fabulous people that we bring to convention. That was one of the thrills for me. I remember the first convention I ever attended. I was just walking down a hallway and Charles Reed was there, and he was down close looking at a painting very, very carefully, just as I would, to try to see how they did it. And I just was stopped in my tracks because I had been a fan of his work since I was in high school. He was an illustrator with Look magazine, and I knew his work. And that's happened with so many artists. Nita Engel, I met her at convention, and when Taylor Eichen asked me to come up to her room the year she was president. Nita Engel was another one of my early heroes. But then some of my heroes are members of our club, so aren't we lucky to have such a broad spectrum of artists to learn from? I really enjoyed that part of Florida Watercolor. These amazing conventions, like the one you're at right now, they happen. They're there for us to meet and mingle and share creative ideas and make friendships, and but they all happen because of volunteers. They happen because so many of us care about Florida Watercolor Society, and it's obvious. I think we're one of the best run organizations in the country, and I never want you to miss that aspect of it. I just had to do a little promotional bit there for that. But I hope you'll never miss, all of you sitting here that aren't on the board or haven't been on the board, I hope you'll never miss an opportunity to be part of the work and part of the fun
Hi there, I'm Ann Abgott, past president of Florida Watercolor. My year, we were in Sarasota, Florida, and we had the convention at the Hyatt, and the show was at Art Center, Sarasota. It was an interesting year. I tried a lot of new things. My first idea was to have 3 workshops, teachers, and pretty much filled all 3 workshops until one of the workshop teachers had to cancel. So a wonderful girl by the name of Karen Vernon stepped in and absorbed a lot of extra students. Some wonderful people who really helped me a lot. One was Sharon Davies. Without her, I couldn't have done it. She helped me immensely with organizing things. And what I got from being a president of Florida Watercolor is that I made a lot of friends. They're probably my dearest friends today. The best part of it all is the people. It's getting to know all of the artists across the state of Florida. It was an immense pleasure, an immense challenge, and I learned a lot from it. So Diane, best of luck. I feel very badly for what this year you had to go through with that bug that I refused to say. And I hope this year is successful for you, and every one of you has had lots of time to paint and enter this prestigious show.
Hi, I'm Sue Reynolds. I'm so delighted to be able to send you a little information about the 2007 Florida Watercolor Show. I was president at that time. We had it at the Daytona Hilton in Daytona. Our juror was Donna Watson from Camino Island, Washington, and our instructor was wonderful watercolorist Dale Laidman. The show was photographed for the printer on 35mm film. A big job. The paintings were put on easels. The people who entered the show sent slides in. There were 340 to 350 of them. 6 carousels were sent to the juror, and we prayed they didn't get lost. Donna Watson, the juror, selected the show and put it in one carousel and mailed them all back. There were 102 paintings juried into the show, and they were exhibited at the Museum of Arts and Sciences in Daytona Beach on Nova Road. The board members had an exhibit at the Bethune-Cookman Historic Black College in Daytona. We did not have cell phones to speak of at that time, so we ran our little legs off from the office to the convention trade show and the workshops, making sure everything was going well. Sharon Davies supervised a great trade show, and she is still at it this year. The Riverview Grill in New Smyrna was the site of the officers' lunch where we all breathed a sigh of relief at a job well done. It was great fun, and I enjoyed it.
Good morning. Welcome to my studio and to this segment of Ramblings of a Past President. Before you know it, it's 2008 and you're president, and you look around and you know it's not so scary, because that's when you see all these people that, you know, in my area that just jumped in and helped me. We had Cole Wolford, Bunny Sheffield, who was my event. We called her an event planner because I gave her this theme and she just ran with it. We had Jane Collin, who was our secretary at the time, and we had Nancy Nidek, who was one of my best friends. And, you know, and I had Debbie Collins, my treasurer, who I picked up out of a bar the year before, but she turned out to be the best treasurer. But you got to be careful when you go in to have a drink after the convention, because you don't know what job you'll end up doing. I told my board I wanted to do a Salon de Refuse, and they were like, well, you know, it's kind of a negative thought. Are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, no, I want to do this. And Mary Ann Beckwith, my judge, agreed to jury a show of 50 other paintings, which was it was fabulous. And this negative turned out to be such a positive because suddenly everybody realized just because you didn't get into Florida watercolor did not mean you had good work, because that Salon de Refuse was just as fabulous as the regular show. The shows come in, you have to take them in, and that was the year that we had a storm that hit both coasts. It took its time. It took us a week. We started with the West Coast and finally ended with the East Coast because everything kept shutting down. You couldn't get anywhere. In fact, my friend Carolyn Kelsel, who was one of the last ones to deliver, almost didn't make it home because of the storms. I have so many people that I can call friends and that you can call upon if you need something. We had Joe Miller, who was from Cheap Joe's, was my speaker for the night of the gala, and he was such a trooper. He went out on Friday night after the reception dancing with all of us. He was out till 2 o'clock in the morning and was such a trooper, and he had to be up for the paint around because he was in it with Marianne Beckwith and Sue Archer and I'm trying to Pat Weaver. They were all up there, but he went out with us and had a grand old time and was still able to work the trade show and do his speech that night. And the trade show, that was the year that the stock market kind of did some crazy things. But the vendors, they came in, they gave everybody the best deals they could. So there were a lot of things that were happening that should have, you'd think, oh God, it could have destroyed Florida watercolor, but it only made us stronger. Those of you who've been around for a while probably remember the O'Brien sisters. And we had Maddie O'Brien, who was made hats in her day. And when I told her I was doing the salon, a Parisian look, she looked at me and she says, I'm going to make you a beret, and it's going to have flair, because you should have flair. So this was my beret that she made for me, and I wore it the night of our gala. So, I had berets for different events. This one actually came from Paris. It's a leather one, and the typical black one. But she didn't have to do that, but she made it so special. And every time that I go into my closet and I see this hat, God rest her soul, she's gone, but what a memory she gave me. She just was fabulous. So, take your chances, get involved with Florida watercolor, because the friendships and the stuff that goes on is you just can never replace the memories that you build here and with the people that you do build, from. I can't thank you enough for letting me ramble about my year, and I can't thank you enough for letting me serve you Florida watercolor and being there. And I look forward to this year with Diane. Diane, this is going to be fabulous. So thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Hi, Mary Lou Ringers here. It's hard to believe that it's been 10 years since I had the honor and privilege of being Florida Watercolor Society's president. Diane has asked us to look back at the highlights of our experience with FWS, and I keep coming back to all of the amazing people who worked so hard and tirelessly to make my year, and they make every president's year a success. It's a team effort, a really big team effort. From the hotel staff to the community leaders to the very important volunteers to the exhibition venue staff, to the wonderful juror and workshop instructor that you really get to know, and the entire board. Everyone worked tirelessly to make the convention and the exhibition a memorable and enjoyable and educational experience. Everyone was a crucial cog in the wheel, and everyone did their utmost to pull off what I am told is one of the only week-long workshops, trade shows, conventions, and month-long exhibition of some of the most outstanding watercolor artists in the country. It's amazing. Coming up through the ranks was probably the best way to understand what needed to be done each year. I remember past President Katherine Davis saying to me, keep your mouth closed and your eyes open. And I did. I did that each year. As second vice president, I got to know our donors, our exhibition award donors, and how generous they are. As first vice president, I got to know our membership and how wonderful they are and how many amazing people are here in Florida and who belong to and feel strongly about being a member of Florida Watercolor Society. And as president, I realized I was never on my own. Everyone was eager to help. And that experience grew me as an artist, as a teacher, and as a board member for all these years. And oh yes, I made some incredible friends along the way. I particularly want to thank and give kudos to the current board who in this pandemic were able to creatively involve all of us in the convention and the workshops and through YouTube and the videos and everything else that was available online, so that those of us who were stuck at home could still participate. You did an amazing job, and you were so creative in how you do that, and you continue to do that. And congratulations. If I was still on the board, I would have been in a corner sucking my thumb. Long may you wave, Florida Watercolor Society. I love you. Okay, bye.
Hi, I'm Kathy Durden, and I was the 2012 president of Florida Watercolor Society. I'm currently the director of operations, and I've had that office since 2013. Wow, thinking back to 2012, been a while, but great memories. I jumped in with an opening on the board in 2011, so didn't just served as membership chair, director, and vice president. And then there was the 2012 convention. I was lucky or whatever because the location had already been determined, and Nick Simmons and Sungwai Warren were our juror and workshop instructor already selected. We were in Orlando, and I don't live in Orlando, so I got to meet some fabulous people at Central Florida Watercolor Society. And they just dove in and really helped. That's where we got introduced to Kim Minichello, who was then our 2019 president, and Jackie Mosick, who's our current secretary, and got them involved. And we were at the Doubletree. I had a great team from Central Florida Watercolor. My volunteer chairs for Sally Hall, and then Faye Tambino and Patsy Marquardt really stepped up to find volunteers. And we had the crazy situation of volunteers actually provided the food for the reception. So thank you to Nancy Larkin and Teresa Chin for running that, because that was a real price savings. We had the interesting situation of the world's largest trade show space, and we had to figure out how to fill, or at least not make 27,000 square feet seem cavernous, and creating some new and interesting ideas about networking activities. And then, as I said, we had the fabulous Nick Simmons as both our juror and workshop instructor, and also our entertainment. So what a great year. So much energy, and I learned so much about Orlando. Since then, I've been very, very involved as Director of Operations and helping, diving in many years to help the president as well. And then last year, turning the whole convention into a virtual convention. We all learned so much last year in terms of what we need to be more relevant to our membership and to better connect with you in terms of getting our virtual activities out there, getting our information out there, and providing you so much information that you can access whenever, wherever. I am not going to be Director of Operations for life, contrary to everyone's expectations. So I look forward to those years when I finally can just be an artist and member. But it's been a great pleasure to serve Florida Watercolor Society.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Johansson, Florida Watercolor Society President, 2014. In 2014, our convention, trade show, and exhibit were held in Delray Beach, Florida, here on the east coast of Florida. And it was a great event. Frank Webb was our main judge, a very interesting man. Myrna Wacknov came and taught the second workshop, and she judged the online show. The gala dinner was a great success. I had local friends that were professional entertainers that came, and we all enjoyed the American Songbook. That year, this was my catalog. And the Old School Square Museum was wonderful. There were some problems. We ran into parking problems on Saturday and Sunday. So many people wanted to attend that the hotel ran out of parking spots, and we were having to move cars around, but we managed. It was a good problem. And then on the night of the reception, it was wonderful. We did have a little rain, but we went between the drops, and all was good. And the legacy that I left the Florida Watercolor Society with was the Healing Arts Award. I started this from a story from my grandchildren. My granddaughter was born in a hospital, and she ended up being in the NICU for a number of days, and we were going in and out. And this particular hospital had a bunch of faded posters, and posters fade to blue. So by the time I got to her NICU every day, and the NICU isn't always a happy place, so I wasn't uplifted. And I found when my third grandchild was born, he was born in a hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina, that lined all the halls with original artwork and sculpture. And it was so beautiful. And you looked forward to the next thing that you were going to see. And I realized from my own experience that this uplifted me and helped me understand hospitals for myself have been places that have life-changing events happen. So the Florida Watercolor Society has now donated 6 different paintings trickled throughout the state. Florida watercolor artists have gotten the Purchase Award for their painting, and we hope this will continue for a long time to come. Thanks.
I'm Ed Vargas Jones, 2015 Florida Watercolor Society President. The convention and trade show were held in my hometown of St. Petersburg. The exhibition was held in the Leeper Ratner Museum in Tarpon Springs. Our juror was the acclaimed artist Morton Solberg. Morton saw me admiring this painting during his workshop. Several weeks later, when the exhibition came down, Mort came to pick up his painting, bearing this as a gift for me. I'd also like to thank Jean Peterson, who was our other workshop leader, for her joyous spirit, for her love of new techniques, exploring new techniques, and shopping. That made us fast friends. My friend Bonnie Barron, who did a wonderful, well-attended motivational workshop on Sunday morning. My dearest friend Linda Swindle, who throughout the year was there when I felt like pulling my hair out or crying altogether and giving up, she always knew what to say or how to help. She volunteered to do my table decorations. And let me not forget Roger Parent, who when I called and asked if he would be my volunteer coordinator, said yes. What did the job entail? He did an awesome job, and he is a wonderful person. My students and friends who knew they had to volunteer and help through the convention and trade show, and did. The incredible, most envied of all boards, the Florida Watercolor Society, board of directors and board and directors. Who said this was supposed to be easy? I knew they would be doing their job, and they did. Last but not least, my sweet, patient husband, Tom Jones. Not Bonnie Jones's husband, my Tom Jones. It is wonderful to be president because we get the opportunity to meet so many of you, and we get to work together and build big friendships, wonderful friendships. I initiated a president's breakfast, and I have had it was a wonderful opportunity to continue that for a couple of more years and really get to know some of the presidents of the different organizations. One of the bad things is that I do the phone calls when paintings need to be fixed or have a problem at take-in. My year, there were several paintings shipped that were damaged when we opened the boxes. There were several that did not meet compliance because of their matte, plex, or frame that were delivered by other artists. So I had to call and deliver bad news. Thankfully, most of the problems were solved with the framer that we had lined up. My goal for the year was to design a new FWS logo and to give our catalog a new, more professional look. And the theme was to boldly go.
Hello, I'm Kim Shields, FWS President in 2016. It was my honor to be a part of FWS bringing back their annual convention and trade show to the Ocala area after a long absence. Our theme that year was We Are Family. I would like to share with you now some of my thoughts and memories.
The Ocala Hilton was so helpful. Neither FWS nor I could have asked for a better partner. The most difficult part for me was, due to the University of Florida football schedule, the Hilton was not able to confirm our final dates until December of 2015. This date is normally known years in advance. With the help of our judges, Ted Nuttall and Ron Thurston, along with our one-day workshop artist, Kathy Durden with portraits, and Steve Rogers with our very first plein air workshop, we were able to expand to more options for our members.
I thought overall the event was a good one, and I'm pleased that FWS has plans to return to Ocala in 2023 with President Peggy Lefebvre. But there's always something you wish you had done differently, and for me it was the catalog, and wishing I had turned to a different publisher.
Opening night saw a large crowd, and not just for the food and wine, but there was plenty of all three. Even the Gala Awards dinner saw a larger than normal turnout of over 180 people in attendance.
My name is Rita Sipensky, and I was president of Florida Watercolor Society back in 2017. Currently, I hold the position of communications director, so I'm the one that's bombarding your email box with all of our email blasts and information that FWS puts out, and I'm also responsible for creating the newsletter that you receive 4 times a year. So let me tell you a little bit about my presidency in 2017. It takes about 3 years of planning prior to putting on a convention. So you have to choose your location, your judges for online show and for the exhibition, your workshop, artists, and everything else that goes along with it. So 3 years in the planning, we've got everything going right up to Sunday was when we were supposed to have our meet and greet, and then Monday morning was our workshop. So Thursday is when I had to evacuate my home because I live in Key Largo, and we were, at that point in time, we were in the center of the cone of despair. So here I left my home, went to Hollywood, which wasn't really too much further up the road actually, and had to make a decision on Thursday whether to continue because they weren't sure now where Irma was going to go to, but it was going to affect the entire state. So I made the decision to cancel the event, which was very disappointing from all the hard work from everybody on the board and all of our vendors, especially, that had to cancel all their orders that they had. The good thing that I could tell you about 2017 is I probably had the best exhibition reception ever. It was held at the Coral Springs Museum of Art. We had this wonderful reception that included a performance artist, a several-piece member band, which there was dancing, that was a huge dance floor. We had chefs cooking at stations. I want to thank Florida Watercolor Society for all that they've given me, because I feel like I've gotten so much more from them than what I've given them. Thank you.
Hey, welcome to members and supporters of the Florida Watercolor Society. I'm Jerome Chesley. I was the 2018 president from Sarasota, Florida. And being a board member and an officer on the organization is a 7-year commitment. However, the experience and the achievements is something that I'm so glad to have experienced. The board works all year long and beyond to deliver a convention, a trade show, and an annual convention. I was able to trust my board to meet all their accomplishments. And I also relied on past President Mary Lou Ringers of Sarasota for her advice and directions. The previous year's 2017 convention was canceled due to Hurricane Irma, so I wasn't able to closely view all the behind-the-scenes tasks that needed to be done. But when the people said, "Oh, it'll turn out fine," I know that that can only happen with years of hard work, planning, and a team of community and FWS volunteers. The experience was not without its challenges. The Sarasota Arts Center was next door to the convention facility, and they refused to allow us to exhibit, even though they received state and county funds to promote tourism to bring arts into the city. But having to search in another county brought us to Arts Center Manatee, who appreciated FWS and our excellent art and artists. But for what I recall as highlights, well, I organized a special President's Exhibition of watercolors of past presidents, board members, local community, volunteers for the inaugural exhibition of a brand new hotel in downtown Sarasota called Art Ovation, which is based on an arts theme. Well, this watercolor promotion resulted in a greater understanding and appreciation of the art of watercolor for all hotel guests and local supporters. And, instead of the Wednesday night board dinner that we usually have, I chartered a scenic dinner cruise on the bay for the board, vendors, and workshop artist participants. Boy, I was lucky that a storm passed through the week before the convention to wash away the effects of the red tide that affected the Gulf Coast. But I'll always remember that inspiring Saturday evening banquet entertainment of the Sarasota Circus Conservatory. The cost of the evening's event went to help and promote educational scholarships in the performing arts, and the performers wowed the crowd. So, working as a president and being on the board, it's allowed me to help other artists become inspired, promote the art of watercolor, and be better artists.
Hi, my name is Kim Minicello, and it was an honor and privilege to serve as the Florida Watercolor Society's president in 2019. It's hard work with many hiccups along the way, which you deal with as best you can because you know how much our members enjoy the events the board works so hard all year to produce. My hat goes off to Rita Sipensky, the 2017 president who had Hurricane Irma to contend with, and Terry Denson, the 2020 president, who had a worldwide pandemic affect her plans for the year. It makes the hiccups I had pale in comparison. The most memorable and enjoyable task I did as president was calling the award winners in the annual and online exhibitions to tell them they had received an award. I thought I might lose my hearing with screams of excitement. I also enjoyed seeing everyone having such a great time at the convention and exhibition in Orlando. I'm looking forward to my remaining years on the FWS board and being a lifetime member of FWS. And one of the highlights of my year always is going to the convention and getting to spend time with all my great FWS friends. Cheers and happy painting.
It's difficult to sum up a year in just 5 minutes, but I'll give it my best effort. I'm Terry Denson, and I was president in 2020, the year of the COVID pandemic. When we began with our first board meeting in January of 2020, there was no pandemic yet, and we were beginning our planning for a convention in St. Petersburg, Florida. One thing we did at that particular board meeting was decide that we wanted to become more engaged in digital presentation and digital efforts for our members. One way we planned on doing that was to start a YouTube channel. That we did, and it commenced in April of 2020. And now has well over 500 subscribers, and of course more people viewing it regularly, and has at this filming, nearly 50 videos on it. In April, we knew we had to do something about the possibility that the convention would be canceled because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We surveyed our members to see whether they were sufficiently interested in attending given the circumstances. And of course at that time we all sort of thought that the pandemic would be over in a matter of months and that come September we could all go back to a normal life. The 1st of June we decided to cancel the convention. By this time, we were far more interested in the video aspect of presenting something for our members, and we started to actively plan a virtual convention. Now, at that time, many of our artists had never filmed themselves doing a presentation, nor did we have other than one person, have someone with much experience in the concept of producing a video, much less a week-long convention. But artists learn fast. Some of them have gone from not knowing anything and needing little hand-holding. Today they are out shooting and producing their own video workshops. They all were amazingly fast learners. As for those people that put together the convention. A lot of people worked on it. It wasn't any one person's single effort, but there were 4 or 5 people who had more to do with it than anyone else. And I'd especially like to thank Ronald Malone, who wasn't even on the board, for his efforts in producing the channel, the special YouTube channel for the convention, doing much of the filming and most of the editing. It was amazing, quite frankly, how well all the artists involved in it, and there were a lot of them, probably close to 50, that learned fast, worked well, acquired totally new skills, and produced a very, very good product. One that put us in the lead, quite frankly, of nearly any watercolor society in the country. We wound up with nearly 650 people registered for the convention. Not all members, we did attract outsiders as well. Put on a full 5-6 day convention. Even our guest artists, who had no experience in it, did an excellent job. The same was true of the workshop presenters. Neither knew anything about filming or doing video presentations, but they jumped right in. And especially Sandy Malden wound up producing a full 4-day workshop. And I'd like to really commend her for that. Our judge and juror, Michael Reardon, did an excellent job of producing both advertising promos and recording his own presentations, his demonstration, and the critique of the critique of the exhibition. The exhibition was online, as it could only be at that particular time. It was a very unusual year, never as you could imagine. I don't know that we'll ever have a year quite so 100% virtual again. At least I hope not. We all would like to get back together again. Now that the shots are pretty prevalent for many people, we hope that we can pull that off. I know that I myself went to my first potluck the other night. We weren't afraid to hug each other. Everyone had been vaccinated fully. It was well past the 2 weeks. And it was really nice to get back together and have the comradeship that we had missed for 1 full year. I hope that you will all have that same opportunity, that we can have a really great 100th anniversary convention this year. Thank you.